Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Setback Leadership Podcast. Now, in this episode, the guest who's there is a great friend of mine. Well, that's not her intro, of course. She happens to be a great friend of mine, and I take pride in it. But she has had 18 years of corporate experience where she has been there in the sales and business development space, and she has worked for many multinational companies including Dune, Bradstreet, Amicorp, etc. She is none other than Sangeeta Roy Chaudhary, and she also has a lot of awards in her kitty. She was awarded the Women Icon Award by the Women Economic Forum. She has also won a beauty pageant. She is a person who believes in many multi capabilities. She is an award winning author of a poetry book called Your Wings, and she is also runs her video channel where she interviews iconic people, leaders from different industries, which has 80,000 plus followers in just 3 months. So here we have Sangeeta Roy Chaudhary talking about her failures and how she dealt with different failures and how she grew to be the leader that she is today. Many things that she shared, what she does, how she manages her emotions versus how she takes care of her dues. How does she have the audacity to talk and speak up every time she needs to, and all the more inside the interview. So do you want to know more about Sangeeta Roy Chaudhary and her successes, failures, setbacks, etc.? Join inside the conversation. Hi Sangeeta, welcome to the show Setback Leadership Podcast. I'm so grateful that you could come for the show and we will be able to discuss so many things about your leadership experiences. Thank you so much for being there in the show.
Thank you, Srijata. In fact, it's a pleasure and honor for me to be here to share my life story. Thank you for hosting me.
Totally my pleasure. So let's get straight into the conversation. I would like to know how has been your journey of becoming the Sangeeta Roy Chaudhary and what you are today as a leader, as a change maker, and as an icon. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Thanks. That's a lovely question. I think every role of mine have been through a very high dedication and perseverance and consistent. Whatever I've done with full passion, right? So very interestingly, one story I'd like to kind of share with the audience that in last 18 years, whatever jobs I have been hired to is always been by a very high reference from an old colleague or old boss or old peer. So I've never had to apply literally for a single job. I think what kind of really worked in my journey to become a leader is that having a very clear vision where I want to reach, having a clear cut communication, what I felt, I have always articulated it and kind of shared it out, being empathetic and holding accountability for my team, because as the saying goes, happy employees always create happy clients, right? So if you could create your team happy, that will percolate down to the employee, and that eventually will convince the client. And definitely, what I've really sort of learned over the years is that how to embrace failure, because I've always treated defeat as a beginning, not an end, and being prepared for every setback what has happened to take it as a new start and a brand new level. And I think that kind of really have been a very strong phenomenon. And of course, a lot of co-workers, a lot of colleagues, a lot of clients. Like I had a very real great set of mentors who sort of mentored me. So my journey of last 18 years, where I am today, I think I lot owe to the peer group, to the co-worker, the environment, and everything, which kind of been very supportive around. And my willingness to give my best every day, time and again, no matter how many times I fall and fail, I always had the ability to bounce back. I think that had made a difference.
Lovely, lovely. I think the key point that you made here is that treating defeat as a beginning and not as the end. I love that sentence. I think that's a tweetable sentence for anyone. And also, I think there's a huge learning for leaders here. When you say treating defeat or treating setbacks or challenges as the beginning and not the end, what you're looking at is the possibilities. You're looking at the opportunities that is lying ahead instead, in spite of there being failure right there on it. So, you know, this is a mindset that you've already established yourself in. Now I want to ask you from the leader's perspective. When I work with leaders, when I talk to many leaders, and the biggest challenge that I see they're facing at this point in time is the challenge of stereotypes, glass ceilings, and others limiting beliefs that are stopping them from growing to the leader they want to be, the best version of them. So let me ask you this. What is your version of glass ceilings? What is that, do you think, is a glass ceiling?
I think that's a very, very pertinent question for today's context because glass ceiling does exist. And moreover, for a woman leader, it does all the more. As the data suggests, women typically don't make the half of the world population. And an increasing number of women are entering into the workforce every year. However, from being recruited to earning promotion to being rewarded, getting aligned to a higher responsibility, women face some barriers throughout and is very, very evident everywhere. In spite of the discussion of diversity inclusion in the organization, women in leadership role has still very minority presence, very minor presence. So I think this invisible barrier will continue to exist everywhere, but how do we kind of put ourselves out from the shackle and then challenge the status quo? That depends on us. So if you ask me whether I have kind of faced that, yes, a couple of places I have, but I had the audacity to kind of go back, ask the question, and get my dues. I think that confidence of yourself, and no matter whatever situation puts you into, you should have the audacity and the confidence to be able to speak your mind, and people do listen. There are certain stereotyping which exist, but there is always a way to break the stereotype by your grit, perseverance, determination, and go-getter attitude. If you have that, no matter how many ceilings put or how many fences you put behind, you'll always shackle all of it and break free from every ceiling. And that's what has been witnessed by me very, very profoundly. So I would love to share that. We can't become what we want to become by remaining in the same place unless and until we take action and question our status quo. So, of course, we need to take initiative of bridging the gap between talk the walk. We need to take the initiative finding balance between commonalities and differences and encouraging women leaders to promote women. There are also successful men out there, right? There is a lot of mentors who are available. We should look up to more successful such role model whom we can go and approach, and people do support. If you really go with an intention and help, you ask something, people do support. So if we can do all this, I think breaking the glass ceiling or stereotyping can easily be done, and you are actually in control of your life. So go ahead and make it happen.
Neat, neat. I think you are in control of your life. That's a big, big sentence once again. And as long as we understand that, as long as we are aware of that stuff, then we wouldn't be mulled by or wouldn't be disturbed by anyone or anywhere. Now I want to dig a little bit deeper here. You said you also have faced glass ceilings in your career, in your life as well. So would you like to share a couple of examples, or maybe just one example of one of the glass ceilings that you faced, and how did you come out of it? What are the exact things that you did? What are those actions that you took that could help our listeners find their ways to get rid of these things? So give us one example of your experience.
So, Srijata, what happened is that early in my career, I was doing very, very well, right? So, what happened is that after spending about 3.5 years in a very large organization, I literally delivered the best result in the entire team. And apparently, that's the year I took a break for my maternity for about 4 months, right? So when my appraisal happened, apparently the rest of the team member was promoted. I was the only person held back. And when I asked the question to my superior saying that I was the last year best performer, and then based on that, you are actually evaluating me, then why am I not due for the promotion? The question came that now you're a mother, you will not be able to devote that much of time to your job. That's the thing we thought that will go slow. Maybe we'll consider next year. And I put out the question, is my promotion based on my future performance or is it based on my what I've done so far? If then of course the question and conversation came in, of course it is about done so far, but now you will be given, you cannot travel so much, you have a little one. So we decided for your benefit to give you less traveling, to give you less responsibility. I thought, let it take it easy. I said, I don't want less traveling, less responsibility. I'll balance it out, but I want my due. So what I did is that I took a note, I wrote to the board of director, I wrote to the global HR head, and I was called to the head office to prove the point. And after even promotion being declared, when I actually went and made an appeal, things turned for my favor. So I think no matter the perception that being a mother, you will not be able to really to justify. If I would have listened to it and said back, I would have actually stayed in my that zone and never questioned myself, right? But I had the tenacity to ask that because I have performed, why shouldn't I be? The appraisal is not about your future performance prediction, it's about your past performance. So give me the due based on my past performance. And that's what I'm asking for. And when I made the claim, it did work on my favor. So I think if you really have that that grit that you will actually want to make a noise, people do listen and actually you get justice. A lot of time people do not get justice because they sort of setback after whatever has been given. So I think challenging status quo every time, constantly pushing your corner, pushing your limit, makes a difference wherever you are.
Lovely. Yes. In fact, it reminded me of the similar experience that I have been through as well. And I was demoted. Demoted, not even promoted, not even kept in the same place, but demoted for delivering a baby. And by a new boss who hadn't even seen my performance. So, in your case, you were lucky when you raised questions, you got your dues. In my case, the management refused to accept that they did a mistake. They refused to own up. First of all, my boss refused to own up that this was the reason that I was demoted. She said, no, this was just a restructuring. Hello, there is a difference between restructuring and demotion. And we all know that. We are not, we are not like naive toddlers who are sitting in the corporate organization, not knowing the difference between demotion and restructuring, right? First of all. Second of all was when I went up to the board and the senior management, the CEO, the chairman, and the head of HR, and all of them downplayed it so much that I was frustrated. They said, no, 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 it's nothing like that. This is just a restructuring. You have to understand, then blah, 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 blah. So then I had no other choice but to show that I am a rebel and quit that organization, saying that to hell with it. You don't respect me. You cannot be honest to my needs. You cannot take care of me. You cannot make me feel that I'm valued. Why should I value your company? So I think same experience, different outcome in this case because of the response from the organization's side. And I'm really glad that your organization took that leap of faith, owned up their mistake, and clarified and rectified it. That's a great learning for organizations here as well, that if you have done a mistake, own it up. It's fine. Your head will not get chopped because you have owned up your mistake. Rather, you will set a good example in the world, right? So I think that's a brilliant perspective here. Now, let me ask you something, that your approach was around making sure that you raise your voice, you show up, you speak up, and you get your dues, and you show that audacity, as you rightly called. Uh, where do you get so much of grit and so much of, you know, so much of strength from? How do you manage to find it? Because I'm sure a lot of women out there are asking this question: where the hell do you get so much of strength from? How do you get that strength, that confidence to ask question and challenge the status quo? Tell us a little bit more.
Srijata, from beginning, right from my childhood, I think I've been a rebel throughout. Like being born in a very, very traditional Bengali family, where thinking of really getting out of Calcutta was a challenge. So to be able to fly to Bangalore, being a single daughter of my family, was itself a challenge. I literally had to go for a hunger strike. I had to do so many things, and apparently, I kind of what I decide and dream it, I generally do it because I think what maximum will go wrong if I ask the question, what I will lose, maximum what will happen, they'll ask you to put down the paper. Does it really put you on a spot? No. It actually gives you all the more rhythm to show up to the world. You are somebody, you cannot stop me by putting those four boundaries because that comes from that self belief that whatever I'll take, I will actually go ahead and achieve it. And that comes from experience of last, so many years of working, sort of when you grow up seeing a lot of poverty around, lot of hungry stomach, empty pocket, your grit of life is very, very different. My entire childhood, I dreamt one day I'll be able to speak in English because I never got a chance to go to a English medium school. I was mocked. Getting into St. Xavier's itself is like a history, and something miracle happened. Maybe I'll share the story another day. But getting into coming from a Bengali medium, getting into English honors into St. Xavier's, being literally mocked by everybody because of not knowing proper English, because of literally, not having the right accent. Coming to Bangalore, I've been always been rejected for everything. I remember when the campus recruitment happened to my campus, I was rejected from all the job because I wanted to make a career in sales and marketing, and communication has been a key strength. I didn't have that nice polished communication skills then. So I kept challenging myself. One day will come, I will actually stand in front of lakhs of people and deliver. And today, by God's grace, I have been a sort of a speaker in various forum. I think that comes from that self-belief. No matter whoever puts you down, you know yourself much better than anybody else can ever form an opinion about you. So have the self-belief and go with the full rhythm. Trust me, universe also start aligning your goal with them and then take you forward. And that's what has been my learning because I've never been fearful of the worst.
Wow, wow, wow. That's something in it. And how you wanted to be in front of lakhs of people delivering, and you are already doing that. We'll come to that bit as well in a while. Stay tuned, listeners. There's something very, very exciting and interesting about Sangeeta Chaudhary Roy Chaudhary talking about what she's doing right now and how she is actually coming in front of lakhs of people and delivering her message. But let me ask you, go back to the same incident and ask you, what has been your learning from that incident, and how do you since then change the way you look at challenges or you look at any problem that you face, and how has it ever changed in terms of how do you look at problems and then versus now, and how do you deal with it?
You know, in reality, what changed me after that incident, I think I got a lot more confidence about myself. I sort of knew that if you could ask a question in front of this board member of 40 plus experience and analyze the situation and convince them, I think you can do all the more work. I think that gave me a perspective of having additional self belief. That gave me a perspective of sort of really believing in your dreams and going after it. that gave me a perspective of taking your own responsibility on your development and being top of everything. That gives me a perspective of volunteering higher level projects. It gave me also that confidence of creating that niche support group, where you can actually be coached. I've spent a lot of money on myself, because I think the best investment you can ever make is investing on yourself. So after 10 years of work experience, I spent a lot of money to go to UC Berkeley to get an executive MBA. Like my entire 11 year savings I kind of spent on that, because I realized if the best investment I can make on myself, because everything in the world is related to soft skill. Your hard skill or aptitude will take you from here to here. But from here, how do you go up? It all depends on your ability to sort of, embrace all your flaws and then being the best version of yourself. I think I kept investing on myself in various training, coaching, mentoring, and I have the self-help group. So I've got a kind of gone ahead and kind of taken help from them. I have a very strong woman leaders around who are coaching me, mentoring me. I think that has gone a long, long way. I think those are the things that taught me after that incident how to really keep moving without ever thinking that there will be any question mark ever. People will people will sort of make mockery of you, they will make fun of you. I'm sure you're doing something right for them to take notice of you, right? So just keep moving ahead on your goal. Let the world talk whatever they want. Just keep walking ahead and go and achieve your dream. That's been my
Superb,
mantra.
superb. And I think what I picked up from this place is that investing on yourself, we all invest in different things. We invest in different kinds of bonds, different kinds of stocks, in gold, in many other things. But how many of us, especially we women, I see this as a big challenge in women leaders of today. In August, in the month of August, I uh, I actually had a one-on-one with 10 women leaders who have huge potential to grow. The challenge, they're not ready to invest in themselves as yet. So, leaders out there, the learning here is that no matter where all you invest, no matter how you spend your money, investing in yourself needs to be put right on the top of the ladder. That should be your first priority. And I don't say it because for just like that. Like we see Sangeeta, she has improved herself in the last 18 years from someone who couldn't speak English at all to actually speaking her message in front of lakhs of people. Like me, I used to be like her. I also couldn't speak in English till the age of 23. Today, I am writing books, I am doing podcasts, I am writing blogs, I am just talking all across the world, sharing my message with the world. And that is only because we have chosen to invest in ourselves. If not, we wouldn't be here where we are today. So that's a lesson for all listeners out there, to go ahead and find the right place to invest in yourself to grow. Get a mentor. You know what, Sangeeta, I'm seeing that you're not the only one. Many other guests in the show are talking about finding the right mentor who can guide you. And I feel that's a very pertinent point, because when you find the right guide to guide you, your long distance becomes shorter, more enjoyable, and more fun, while giving you exponential growth. So think about it that way. Now, Sangeeta, coming back to you, enough of giving yarn to the listeners. So let's talk about you. You do many different things, Sangeeta, in your professional life. You're a strong corporate leader. You've had 18 years of corporate experience. You are a beauty queen, right? You are an author and award winning at that, right? A mentor, and many more other hats do you don. Now, I know this is a cliched question. This question all women get asked, and I hate this question. But I'm still going to ask this question to you. That is, how do you manage it all to perfection?
That's actually a lovely question. I get it, and I keep telling it to everybody, because I think whatever I have taken up, I've tried to be the best in that. Because productivity is never an accident. It is the result of commitment, excellence, and intelligent planning and focused effort. So whatever I in my life have chosen to take up, made authoring a book or running a Your Icons channel, or doing my corporate job, or sort of mentoring, coaching, whatever I've taken up, I have tried to be best in that group. And I do definitely, if I have to take something, I ensure I complete it. So people always said me that, why don't you schedule your priorities? You are in too many things. But to be honest, I have never really worked on scheduling my priorities. Rather, I have prioritized my schedule, and that has worked wonder for me. So the moment you learn to prioritize what you want and schedule your life around that, not what is being given to you, and then you kind of pick and choose from that list. Rather, you choose your priority and schedule what you want to do first. What write down, I think every goal of yours start from your thought. Because when you start thinking and dreaming it, because thought actually becomes your action. There's a law of universe, as all of us read the book called Secret. Whatever you want, you will actually see the world, universal energy sort of sending the signal of the right message which you are looking at. So the moment you start dreaming, you actually start attracting all the possibility towards your dream, towards your goal, and you'll find how you are also co-creating with this world. So very, very important to keep your vision first, priority first. Write every action, what you want to achieve till date. I have two journal I maintain. I maintain attitude journal and I maintain a life journal. Every day before going to sleep, I write down three things I am grateful for. And every day before going to sleep, I write down three lies that I'll never tell to myself. Like, I am not good enough, I'll cut the knot. I write it down. I am good enough. I am not intelligent enough, I'll cut that knot. Whatever not or no I'm saying to myself, I cut it, write it down, and it gets into my subconscious mind during sleep. And trust me, next day when I get up, I see a different person. Having those, having a is no more the era of B2B, B2C, right? People say it's no more the B2B or B2C, it's P2P, people to people connect. And you will be able to do a P2P, people to people connect, when your SQ quotient is high. SQ is the spiritual quotient is high. So getting soaked into small meditation every day, having that faith and belief, writing the gratitude journal, trust me, goes a long, long, long way. And that is the reason I've been able to do shop. I've kind of do multiple things like the way you do, Sujata. Everything you do in a very nice poise, grace, and perfection. I think the reason people like us are sort of able to do whatever many roles they are given to, because of, I think, three quotient. That quotient of people, the soft people skill, spiritual quotient, as well as the attitude of gratitude quotient. These three things, if you have it, you have made it.
So true, and beautifully said, right? And your spiritual quotient definitely differentiates you from everybody else. Now, I'm going to, ask you a little bit more about the Your Icon channel that you have started running, and I know it is doing amazing already. You are making ripples in Instagram and in YouTube, and you're doing amazing stuff. So tell us more about it. What is it, and how do you bring out people there? What is the objective of it, and what is that you are achieving through that?
Okay, I think it is again very much aligned to my life. Like whatever I have never achieved, I've always gone back and read very powerful autobiographies. I have read people's, from where to where they're reaching without any help, any support group. I have read stories which are like, nobody, everybody put a question mark, and but they have actually the people who came forward and made the country proud. So I've been always been myself very, very inspired by those powerful stories of the powerful people. And then I thought, why don't I create a platform where I get to chance to interview various powerful, people who have made an impact in their own arena, and share that story with the audience. And also because many of them will be an iconic figure, right? So many of them, somebody I want to really have a one conversation with this gentleman is a dream. So that's why I kind of conduct this interview also in live format. So what I realized, story has a very, very powerful impact. Everything in life is about sharing a story. Our conversation is sharing our story. Tomorrow, when you actually go and get a first $1 million funding for your startup at a concept level, because you are able to articulate stories. Stories does have impact. And that are the stories I was trying to portray in front of people, that you are your unique self and you are definitely a powerful pearl in the world. Believe in that and listen to the stories, because all these powerful stories had a very, very different, difficult beginning. If they could shackle their barrier and come out so strong, why can't you? So this is a way of giving back to the people that, you know, you are your limitless possibility. Embrace your flaws, keep moving forward, have the trust and faith in yourself, and see how the wonder you attract. With that motivation, I started, Your Icon channel, right? And by God's grace, less than 3 months, we have close to 80,000 followers. We have hit about 60,000 on Instagram. We have hit about close to 10,000 in FB, about 8,000 in Twitter, and a huge YouTube. Each video generally gets 10, 20,000 views. So I have been really grateful for the kind of love I've received from all of you. Because of you, I am here. And that's what keeps me going, because, I love to feature those stories which I personally been inspired by. And that same thing I'm trying to showcase to the world.
Awesome. And congratulations for, breaking the milestones after milestones after milestones. So one thing that I want to ask you about this channel, and when you have started, it's been 3 months you've been doing this. So what has been your biggest learning while you are working on this channel, working on this show, and learning from these iconic figures? What has been your top three learning from this show?
I think I got a lot of learning in articulating it into sort of top three. Gonna be difficult, but I'll try to do so. What story I heard from each one of them? I think three things came out beautifully. One very, very strong thing that came out is that your ability to bounce back counts. Whenever you are facing rejection or setback, please know that here is an opportunity to begin fresh. And this time, if you fall, make sure you bounce back even sharper than your previous fall. That ability for you to come back even sharper, that sort of makes you who you are. Every heroes had multiple setbacks, multiple failure. I think never give up. That persistence kind of stood out very, very strongly in that conversation. Second
Mhm.
thing, one thing very strongly came out in the conversation, that the moment you come out with your idea, everybody either will mock at you, they will sort of laugh at you, they will think you are insane, you're crazy. But if you could rise above those adjectives put into by the society and your friend circle and close circle, that's where the victory begins. Because many blooming mind kind of gets crippled just before they reach the iceberg, because iceberg is just the tip, but below, beneath that, the frustration, the midnight, the failure, whatever we can't see. So many of the time, before you come to the tip of the iceberg, people will pull you down. There are enough and more people to kind of sort of pull you down, but the ability to stay focused on your goal and keep working, crippling, just move forward 1 inch. Try to become your better version by 1 inch every day. I think that has counted. And the third thing, which also kind of came out beautifully, is that if you believe in an idea, that will work. And 99% people around it said it never will work. Just ensure that you be at it, because success is not about being gifted. It is about gifting little discipline every day in the cup of your dreams. The day you decide to quit, your story ends there. But actually, victory begins from the start of that point, that I'm going to never give up. and keep working. I think these are the three things everybody brought out in the conversation. And this learning has been my learning.
Nice, nice, nice. I feel great about it because, this is something that I have been telling people that setbacks are not your end. This is an opportunity for you to prove yourself that you can be way bigger than your setback. And what you just validated is the ability to bounce back is what I call it setback leadership. How do you bounce back after every setback that you have faced in your life? And how quickly are you able to see those opportunities hidden in the wrapper of challenges, unravel it, and grab those and then go after those? I think I'm very glad that you brought this out. Now, I want to ask you, in terms of you have been working with a lot of organizations and you've, held their leadership positions and dealt with many teams and so on and so forth. What do you think organizations at an organization level should do to make sure the glass ceilings, the stereotypes, the self limiting beliefs of the deserving leaders, or every leader for that matter, is deserving? I feel, it's all about the right situation, right opportunities, right conditions, and everything. So, my question here is, what do you think the organization should do at their capability to make sure that they are helping their leaders break those glass ceilings, those stereotypes, and those limiting beliefs?
That's a lovely question. I think what I have failed and whatever I have done, I'll kind of articulate that in my organization level. So I think being open to feedback and creating an action plan around it really works. So if you should be having a voicing board, or a board which basically anonymous voicing board where people can share feedback, and you need to have not sharing feedback and not taking action. I think creating a strong action plan around it does help. Secondly, I think as an organization level, all should create a mentorship program to support career goal. So whoever doesn't belong to a team, on a more of a cross pollination manner, where we can actually create support group between the different teams to support their career goal, does a lot to kind of help in breaking those glass ceiling. I think very, very importantly, one of the that I've always strongly voiced out before also, and I would love to share with you. I felt being vocal about it or conducting blind screening. I think while interviewing a candidate or promoting someone, let's put the facts and figures and qualification out there, not the name. I think that sort of will help reducing that glass ceiling concept. And the last thing what I feel is important is that implementing regular bias or stereotyping training, some expert to come and talk about it. So people who are actually sort of creating that, they might not even know that they're actually creating these biases, right? So having those training, because of the daily work and lot of deliverables, we also kind of forget. We also are kind of all constantly on the state of doing, right? We are not in a situation of state of being. So it's important to just slow down and be in your subconscious level of in the arena of being, because we are so busy of making a life, making a living, making a this. We keep forgetting now who we are. I think that's why having mentors, trainers from outside to talk about this regular bias system, regular stereotyping system, I think those training would definitely help. These are the 3-4 measures if the organization is able to take. I think it will genuinely can really work with the leaders to break such glass ceiling.
Nice. And guess what? Our previous guest in the previous episode also spoke about blind screening and blind interviewing. Remove the name and only keep the uh, achievements. The resume shouldn't have the name and the address of the person where they belong from and all of that. I think that's a brilliant idea for organizations to make sure that more diversity is represented in the organization. And of course, feedback system, having mentors, and making sure you get external experts to not only, I would say, not only talk about the issues that are being faced, but also take them through implementation, take them through action, so that slowly awareness and clarity happens that yes, I have this bias, and therefore I need to be aware when I'm making a decision around it to carefully, knowingly remove that bias from that decision making. I think that's a brilliant idea. So we are almost at the end of the conversation, and I have just one last question for you, and that is, what do you think leaders should do who are facing stereotyping, who are facing glass ceilings and other kind of self-limiting beliefs right now in the path of their professional growth? What are the 3 4 tips that you will give to people who are facing challenges at this point in time in their path of growth?
I think one of the very, very important learning what I had, setback is bound to happen, failures is bound to come. Nothing is an accident, everything has a purpose. And you are not just the one person who's facing it. You are part of this universe, and many of you have faced it before, and that will continue to happen. And you have to live with it. So, how do you ensure not to get bogged down by the situation? I think it is very, very important, as I earlier said, is that whatever is thrown at you, whatever the question has been imposed on you, have the courage and ability to be able to speak out, put your voice out there. Because when you are out there putting a clear message, people will listen. At the end of the day, if you have been put under certain setback, just think it is a temporary. It is a new opportunity for you to begin once again, and this time being a brand new one. So if something comes in your way which is not expected, if you feel like giving up, just look back and see how far you have reached already. Don't give up at the last minute. Things will change. Have that faith and believe in yourself. I think one of the things, Sujata, I think what has worked, be that crazy enough to reach your goal. Because if you step up again to become your best version of your own self, nobody in the world around it can put a question mark or raise a question against you. Because if people are not really laughing at your goals are too small. It's been said by Mr. Azim Premji, right? I sort of follow him quite closely. So it is okay. Let the people question you. Let the people put the eyebrows in front of you. Be different. You don't have to fit in. Just stand out in what you believe. You don't have to follow the crowd. Let the crowd follow you, because people one day will believe if you don't give up and you have that persistence and perseverance and that notion of challenging your status quo. And most people actually dreaming, the winners are the ones they wake up and work hard to achieve it. So become in that 1%. Don't be the 99%, because success begins once you push your comfort zone and keep up the failure when you feel like giving up. That's where the new life starts. So take action, and time is now. And one last thing, which I've always believed, you know, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you need to go together. And I have seen in my life, whoever has been my tribe, my close circle, everybody whom I met about 18 years before, compared to today, people have kept in touch. I think the relationship is a very, very important skill set. At the end of the day, when I don't know whether how much time I have, Sujata, but if allow me, I'll just share a small story of my life.
Sure.
It is, sorry, I think I'm kind of taking a little longer time, but
No, that's fine. That's
from a
absolutely
manager,
fine.
yeah, from a manager, when I was transitioned to a director level, a lot of people put me down, stating a woman in such a high role to manage such a large P&L. is gonna be challenging. But there were a lot of eyebrows were raised, and I had to literally up my ante to really make a bend in the perception. I've been in sales and marketing over last 1.5 decade, and I must have worked across about 6, 7 different industries. But I was extremely good in nurturing the relationship. And those skill set and confidence that I inculcated in clients' mind, that became a huge asset. So invest in your relationship. Whoever may it be your junior, senior, co-worker, colleagues, client, boss, everybody has been given such a high reference about me that not a single job had to be applied for. Everything has happened with a very, very high reference. So how strong, formidable relationship you are able to make, that literally builds your brand. And that brand presence are very, very strong. Eventually, those relationships got me several million of dollars for the organization. So it all starts from you. Once you think you can do it, you can break the glass ceiling. That's where you actually take initiative, you set boundaries, and make sure you fly off to the vision of your dream. And that's what have happened. And that's what I'd love to share with my audience.
Wow. Amazing, as what I call this as, right? So I think, I wouldn't like to take away anything from this. I just want to say that be there, know that setbacks will come. I treat setbacks like those speed breakers on the way that are randomly appearing, especially in Indian ways, right? Wherever you don't expect a speed breaker, it will suddenly come, and you have to slow down and be gentle on your car. But then once the speed breaker is gone, that's your time to speed up, because for the next some time you will have that opportunity to speed and take that leap of faith. So go ahead, take that leap of faith and keep rocking. And here I am going to just say thank you to Sangeeta, because she has given so generously. Have you guys noticed that? How generously, how openly she talked about it, and she shared all her mantras, all her tools, all her tips and tricks in such brilliant, fluid manner. I am in awe, totally in awe. Thank you, Sangeeta, for coming and sharing your knowledge with our listeners. I am totally grateful to you.
Thanks to you, Srijata. I have been really, really taken away by the kind of wonderful work you are doing. I keep following all your podcasts. I read your book also, and I think you have some very, very strong, powerful mantra there. I think Setback Leadership, if you haven't picked a copy, one book definitely to reckon by. And great work, what you have done. I've known you for last 7, 8 years. The way you have grown, I wish you all the love, all the luck, and great success ahead. May you build many more women leaders in future, in coming days. And may you create many more leaders in the industry. Thank you for having me.
So much for those kind words. Yeah, I just going to do this. Nothing else can suffice this. With that, we close for the day, and we will see you in the next episode. Let's say bye-bye to Sangeeta, and let's keep rocking in our world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and a big virtual hug. Take care.
Big one. Wow. That was a fluid conversation. While I was talking to Sangeeta, it felt like as if I was just sliding the smooth butter knife into the butter and scooping out simple, yummy, delicious butter from the conversation. Why do I say so? Because Sangeeta, in a very nice, beautiful manner, brought out such easy, simple, yet difficult things that a lot of leaders don't do in their life. One of the things that struck me was that she maintains 2 journals. One is a gratitude journal. We all know about it. But the other journal caught my attention. A lie journal? The lies that you're telling yourself. That I'm not good enough. How about writing that and striking it off and writing, yes, I am good enough and I can do it? What about changing the mentality from why setbacks to me? What about you saying that yes, setbacks will come in my life and I will make sure that I take every advantage of that springboard to grow further. She also spoke about her experience of not getting a promotion just because she was pregnant or she just delivered a baby, and how she managed to get it. I think there's a huge lesson out there to speak up for the righteous thing in your career. These are my learnings. How about yours in this episode? You have something that you specifically learned from this episode? Let me know. I am ready to hear you out. And also, should you want to know more about setback leadership and the work that I do, pick up a copy of my book from Amazon and you will know more. I will see you in the next episode. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, keep enjoying the festive season. Love you.